Okay, so now in this section, let's take a look at how we can create some building actors so that we can populate our level empty areas like this. Okay, so first I think it's better if we can have some demo map just for the testing stuffs, and after it has been completed, we can integrate those buildings to the actual road network. Right, so first I will duplicate this showcase level and call this on as map underscore buildings. Open that up. Let's remove everything. Right, and I have to paste these manager components. Level manager, TOD manager, and with the manager. And let's get rid of these lightning components. And as the TOD manager, let's have maybe 10. And I'll disable the dynamic day-night cycle. Okay. Right. So for the building. So let's create an actor first. Then we can randomize its scales and stuff to make it as a building. So first I will create a directory called building, and no, maybe let's call this one as buildings, and then inside there let's create the base directory, and there let's create our parent actor, which is vp underscore building base. Open that up. Right, so over here first I need static mesh, and maybe let's add some arrow component as well. Right, then in order to visualize the building I need to add some mesh. For that I'll create a variable called building mesh, and then I can add some static mesh component, not the component, actually static mesh. It has a public variable, assign it to a category called setup. So here for now I'm gonna simply use a cube mesh, but in your scenario you may have custom buildings. If you need to add some custom building meshes, you can do that as well. Okay, but in my scenario I just need some very basic setup for the buildings, so I'm going to simply use cube. So let's use this cube. Right, and this should be visualized on the actor by adding that static mesh as the static mesh reference at our building base actor. Yeah, for that I'll create another function called initialize, and then we can call it on the construction script. And then here I can get this static mesh and set the static mesh like this with this new building mesh. Compile, save. Now if you go to the viewport, you can see our mesh is there. Right, now I need to make this building start from the not on the middle like this. It should be aligned to the ground. Right, so if I show you the perspective for the left side, you can see our cube is there, which is wrong actually. Because of a building it should be something like this, right? So let's see how we can move our mesh to a little bit upward. So at the initialize function we can take the static mesh reference and set its relative location like this, and I just need to manipulate the c-axis so I can split the struct like this, and then we can move it maybe like 1 to 8 points, right? So you can see now it is being pushed to a little bit upwards. Maybe it's too much. Let's just say 100, 50. Yeah, this would be fine. Right. Also, I need some dynamic sizes as well, not a static size like this. So for that, let's create another variable called size, which is vector. Make it as public variable, send to setup category, and by default I'll give it size like 1 by 1 by 2. Right, now at the initialize script, we can set the relative we can set the relative size for this static mesh. Let's just say set relative scale 3D. Okay, compile, save. Now you can see that scale has been applied, but now the issue is, since the size is dynamic, we have to dynamically resolve this set relative location as well. Otherwise, hard coding this C value is not quite efficient. Right, so now for the size, let's split the struct, and for the C axis, I'll multiply it with by maybe 128 points and plug it to here. Compile, go to the viewport. Now you can see our building is there. But I think this cube mesh comes with a different scaling. Maybe not this cube mesh. If you go to the engine content, yeah, engine meshes over here. So let's use this cube. Right, so this is a default cube provided by the Unreal Engine editor level. Let's use this one instead of this cube, right? So I'm going to replace that reference. So you can see now the scaling is correct. Okay, so make sure you are using the same cube, which is this one. Directories, engine, content, engine meshes. Okay, right. Now our scaling is also fine. So you can simply place the actor to the level and see how it works as well. Okay, our building is there. Also collisions are there. Right, now I need a way to randomize these building sizes on the design level so that I can have some random sizes of buildings on the level instead of manually typing these sizes one by one. So how we can do that? For that, let's add a boolean called randomize size on construct, because those randomization should be applied on the construction level only. Once we disable it, those randomizations should be disabled as well. Otherwise, building sizes will be randomly changed over the time. Setup category. Right, now I need to define the minimum and maximum scaling that can be potentially have for a building, right? Because since we are going to randomize it, we need the lower bound and the upper bound. Otherwise, these buildings will be extremely small or extremely large. So we shouldn't be able to do such thing. So in order to avoid that, we have to specifically mention what are the minimum and maximum threshold values that we can put for this scale. So for that, I'll add a variable called mean scale, which is a vector. Another, maybe let's call this one as mean size. And another vector called max size. Both of should be public. And the minimum size, let's just say 1 by 1 by 2. And the maximum size, let's just say 4 by 4 by 10. Compile, save. Okay. So now at the initialize script, maybe I'll add a sequence here. And before applying the size related stuff for the scale and the location, now we have to randomize the size. So we have to randomize it only if we enable this randomize size on construct boolean. So if we enabled, then this size should be randomized. Split the struct. So in order to randomize it, we can get the mean size, split it, get the max size and split it. Now for each associated xy values, we have to take the random floating range. So I'm gonna take random floating range for this x and max x. Similarly, y min and max y, and minimum c and maximum c. These are the potential randomizations for the x, y and c values. Then you can plug it to here. So now we will have a randomized size that clamped within this range. Okay, right. Now let me show you what this does. So currently if I move the building, it doesn't do anything. It's just having the static size and only the location is being changed. But if I enable this randomized size on construct, you can see suddenly the size of the building has been changed because those randomization has been applied, and you can see the size is also being changed. So if I try to move it, you can see we have multiple different sizes, right? So I can copy the references like that, and I can randomize it until I get the desired outcome, right? And after it is done, I can simply disable these randomizations for all of these buildings, so they will remain on that specific size. Okay, right. So I think now we have a very basic setup for the buildings. So we simply use the cube mesh, but if you have custom meshes for the buildings, you can add that as well. Also, if you are looking for procedurally generated buildings, then you have to improve these functionalities actually. But I think in this level, we don't need to go into that detail. Right. So now our mesh part and the actor part is done. And the remaining part is we have to apply some building material to these buildings so that it will be much more convenient for the player as a visualized building. So in the next tutorial, let's see how we can create such a building material.